JBR Podcast.
Wake up and check it out.
Where the music and life connects. Let's go!
Today, I have Cora Price on the show. She's the founder and the president of the Fraser Valley Blues Society. And we're going to dive into her journey of how she got the society started, what inspires her to keep blues alive in the Fraser Valley, and her passion for spreading the blues far beyond the region. So tell me, Cora, what inspired you to get the Blues Society started, and when did that all happen? How did it come about?
Well, we started going to blues festivals. The first one we went to was down at Mount Baker Blues Festival in Deming, Washington. And about 4 years into going there, we were sitting around the tiki hut having a margarita one day. And I was complaining to the people at that hut that we didn't have enough live music in the Abbotsford area, that we were having to travel to the Dewdney, which is about a 45-minute drive, Vancouver, Washington State, in order to enjoy live blues music. So I turned to Bill, my husband, and said, I guess I just need to do something about that. So those were my famous words that got this all started. I came home from that festival and began the process of incorporating. And on October 31st, 2013, we became the Fraser Valley Blues Society. And started moving forward on forming our board. And we held our first event with Harp Dog Brown on April 14th, 2014. So it took that long for me to get everything together to actually hold these live events. Little did I know how much work was involved.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what were some of the challenges in just getting that started? Because I don't think a lot of people understand the work it takes, not even logistically to get a live show together.
Yes.
But to do, like you said, make the corporation happen and the board of directors and all that kind of stuff. So
right. Well, incorporating alone is $750 to $1,000 to do that. You have to do your name search, then your name reservation, then you have to fill out all the paperwork relative to an incorporation. So you're effectively a business per se, and there's legalities wrapped around that. At the time that we incorporated, you had to have 5 board members. So I had to find 5 people that were willing to sit on the board, and I made it a stipend that they also had to help with the production end of it, because there is a lot of work involved at that side as well. So I found 3 others. So there was Bill, myself, Mac McDonald, who was the other ones? I think we had Terry McManus, and we had a lot of Macs there. I just realized that. And sorry, Bill, who was the other one? Oh, Randy Mathis. So
Yes.
we formed the nucleus of that. And then we had to find a venue that could actually house us. And at the time that I decided to go forward with this, the Eagles was talking about selling their hall next door, which we had attended a few times for live music events. And I felt that it would be a crying shame, as the saying goes, if we were to lose that hall in Abbotsford. So I met with the trustees and asked them about the possibility of holding events there, and discovered that not only would I have to be holding events, but I'd also have to figure out how to do sound and just make the whole thing jive and move forward. So it's a lot of work, but at the same time, I like learning new things. So it was a good challenge for me.
So did you come from a background in terms of, say business to set that up and the logistics musically, or did you just?
Yes, I'm a business consultant. I come from a background, a very extensive background of working with lawyers and professionals. And my dad had a business when I was younger, did his accounting work, bookkeeping at that point. I have a tech background. I was a systems administrator at BCIT. So I was able to set up the website for it, the Facebook component, the social media, all of those nitty gritty things that need to get done in order to have a successful entity when it comes to today's marketplace. and getting the word out
Hmm.
of what we do. So I came with a good bucket of skills to actually move forward with this.
Yeah, to make it happen. So you got the society all done business side. You kind of procured a venue to where you can get some bands and things going, which still is going to this day. So how
10
have you
years later.
seen? Yeah, so how have you seen the scene evolve over, 10 years?
Well, I'll put it this way. For our jams now, we fill up to our 100 capacity within 6 minutes of opening the
That's
doors.
amazing. That's amazing.
So people have proven to us that what we're doing is direly needed in our community. The musicians have been very supportive. The Eagles have been very supportive, more so now than they were pre-COVID. Um, Post-COVID, people came to realize a lot more what it felt like if it was missing. So
Hmm.
I'm grateful for that. Um, but yes, it's been well received all the way around. We have people who attend our events from Vancouver to Hope to Washington State. We've had people from Saskatchewan, the East Coast. People who come into the local community quite often end up attending because they're looking for something to do while they're in Abbotsford.
Yeah. So you mentioned the jam. So how frequent are you doing the jam? And then what kind of special events are you doing? Is there like a steady flow that you have going on there?
So our schedule is we do a jam once a month, the second Friday of the month, for 10 months of the year. So we take July and August off to go play, as I call it, going to the festivals and schmoozing more than working. Um, but there's still work involved because a lot of the times we're taking guitars to be signed, and I do photography as well. So at a lot of these festivals, I do photography, and it gets me an in to be able to talk to the musicians face to face as well. Um, and then I do a ticketed event, usually 8 to 10 months out of the year as well. Um, Usually it can change, but usually it is the fourth Saturday of the month that we do that. And that will be a professional musician, if I can, if there's local musicians needing that support, could be an international musician. We just recently had Ruz Evans come and play. He's from Bristol, UK. And actually, I have him coming to do a spotlight appearance in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, and you when you're holding music events, what happens is that the promoters and or the musicians, when they're traveling, will actually reach out trying to find venues to play at. And it's really critically important, as you know, because you've done this, that they
Yeah.
have those places to go to and play and be shown appreciation and get paid a living wage. That one of our mandates has been to actually pay musicians a half decent wage, or fee for playing our venue. And so, probably I would say we spend 80 to 85% of the revenues we bring in on just holding that event. So
Yeah,
there's,
that's amazing.
yeah. And then what's left over, as you know too, goes to sending musicians to Memphis.
Yes, and that's what I was kind of going to get into there. So you're doing a jam, which is a great opportunity for local musicians to kind of cut their teeth and shed some stage experience, as well as bringing in more notable, international type entertainment. But
Mhm.
you also host the IBCs, which you've sent me down there a couple times, and some bands last year as well. So tell us about that
Yes.
process.
So January of this year, we sent a 14-year-old youth from Nanaimo and a duo from Mission and a trio from Vancouver. And we were the only ones from pretty well Ontario over that did.
Really?
So the opportunities have been really slim pickings the last couple of years because of the expense involved. We had Jack Semple from Saskatchewan was the only other musician that's classified in the Western component of Canada that actually attended. So, yeah, I see it as a great opportunity not to go down and win, but to go down and get to see how other musicians operate, to maybe meet promoters and festival operators and things like that. And it's a good time. Like, there's nothing like going down to the International Blues Challenge and spend a week on Beale Street with it shut down, going from venue to venue, seeing all the different acts that are there. We meet
No,
people from all over
absolutely.
the world.
Absolutely. And it's a huge expense. I know
It
you've
is.
gone many times and I've gone a few times as well. So how do people support that? Because people that are going to be watching this, I hope they can understand that, you know, the type of work that it takes you to put in voluntarily and
Yes,
even
I
some of
don't
your
do
own.
not get paid, and it's like a full-time job.
Exactly. And there's costs that come out of your pocket as well. And you do these events and majority
Well,
of the
I'll put it
funds are,
this way. This year we spent $10,000. That was 5 years accumulation of profits that we had.
yeah.
So things that we do to raise those funds is, like I was saying, we do guitar raffle. We haven't done that for the last couple of years because it just got to the point where people were too used to it, so there wasn't as much money being generated from it. Um, I'm now making our merch, so I'm bringing in all kinds of different things. I'm currently making jewelry, like things like this. So, what else do we do? So we do 50/50 draw, we do our ticket events, and what's been really interesting, pre-COVID, we made our money off our ticketed events, and some of our money from that went towards our jams. Now our jams are subsidizing our ticketed events. So there's been a big
Wow. So
shift.
what would you say contributed to that kind of a shift?
People are feeling the crunch of what effectively is a recession that we're in. And so they're not going out and spending quite as much money. And we're finding, like, I also track with the venue because we don't get any of the revenue for drinks. Everything that we earn comes from what we bring in through the door or through the fundraising efforts. And I always check with them how much we've sold in a night. And there's been a big shift of people drinking non-alcoholic beverages, but
Wow.
they're going for the more expensive non-alcoholic beverages, which is good because that helps support the venue, which is also
For sure.
critically important because, like in Abbotsford, we had 3 shut down over COVID. And now we are the only, I think there might be one other venue that actually holds live music events in Abbotsford now, and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, that's it. I think that's important for people to understand that when they go to a venue to watch a band and realize that a society's put it on, there's all this component of costs associated to what you guys run. Obviously, people know a band's getting paid something, but then
The
the
sound
bars have to
person's
make.
getting paid, the hall has to get paid.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of behind the scenes components. So when people go to a show and think like, hey, I know so and so, I don't have to pay my 10
But
bucks
why
to
is
get
there a
in.
cover charge?
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. And then in the same breath, they go, the music scene's not what it used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
it's
know.
so yeah, no, exactly.
It's the catch-22 component that happens. And the other thing that we do too, James, that I forgot to mention is we are a membership-driven society. Um, we currently, I started at $20 a year. I've kept it at $20 a year. Um, and we have right now about 140 members. And then we have bands and musicians that also get a membership, and their bio gets put on our website so that they actually can get some promotion out of it as well. And I quite often get people phoning asking me to recommend or refer bands and musicians to play. And so our website works great at that because I include the bio and a photo and links to their social media and website and such.
And that would be so people could support by going to FraserValleyBluesSociety.com and getting a membership. I'm just jumping on your site right
Yep.
now. So you have a membership tab in the navigation for signing up for the newsletter, volunteers, and then memberships as well. So that's and I've always recommended that for people, whether you can attend or you're just in the region,
Well, even if they
supporting.
don't want to sign up for a membership, sign up for the newsletter so you know what's happening. Because a lot of people say to me, well, I didn't know you were doing this. And I keep going, how did you not know? The marketing is quite extensive and people talk about it all the time. So if you want
Yeah,
to
so you
know,
send
if you
out
want to be in
regular
the know, sign up for the
yeah,
newsletter. It's once a month.
yes. Once a month you send out an email on
Yeah, I
what's
send
happening?
out the newsletter once a month. And I send out usually one reminder to people to
Okay.
remind them when events are happening because people's lives get busy and they forget.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So to circle back with the 10 years of experience you have running this all now and having such a successful jam session going on, what advice would you give to younger generations or musicians that are trying to get out there to do things? Because equally as important to having the musicians is having people like yourself give the opportunity for these people to get out of their garages to have somewhere to perform.
Well, one of the things that I'm really excited about that has happened in this past year is we now are able to have youth come to our jam sessions. We've never been able to do that. They're allowed in the venue up until 10 p.m. Our last jam session, which happened in June, we had 5 people under the age of 19 in the audience, and they did really well.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I get really excited when I see young people in the crowd and make sure I go up and introduce myself and to their parents and such as well, because they do. They tend to bring family and friends along with them so that they don't feel uh, um, excluded, I guess
Overwhelmed.
is a good way. Because I
Yeah.
look around the audience, the majority of our audience is 65 plus. So I look around at all the gray hair and it's just like, ooh, I don't belong here. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I've always said that because my dad started taking me to bars when I was 13 years old, and everybody in the bar was 20 years older than me, and I had that like, oh wow, like I feel out of place because
that's where
everyone's
I
older.
met you. You were
Yeah,
13 and in the stairwell.
and now I'm pushing 50, and everyone's still 20 years older than me. So
To a certain
that's why
degree.
to a certain degree, but that's why it's great for me to kind of see younger people because growing up, people my age weren't really into the blues. And there's very few younger people that, there's
And it's
some
still
guys
that way.
that,
It's
yeah.
still that
And
way, unfortunately. But we have a couple of what I call emerging musicians who have taken the torch and are running with it. And I'm very excited to see them actually approaching venues, getting their own events happening, getting their own jams happening even. One of them sent me a message last week apologizing that he has his own jam happening in Chilliwack and telling me that he didn't want to step on my toes. And it's just like, no, go for it because I'm not going to be able to do this forevermore. So I need those behind me in age coming up and wanting to take it over and continue doing what we're doing. Our Blues Society at 10 years is really young. If you look at Washington, they've been going for 37. Toronto is the same thing. I think they're 35. Victoria isn't much older than us, but they seem to have a bigger following in Victoria. And Nanaimo also is, I think, going on almost 20 years, so double ours. It takes that long to get things rolling. It's amazing how long it takes.
yeah,
But there's only so many hours in the day. And when you're working with volunteers more than a for profit entity, it takes even longer.
yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that over the years. I saw it with the Maple Ridge Blues Society when it started, and it's all volunteers. And then, people get burnt out, and then there's a whole new board of directors, and the director changes, and then they get burnt out. And there's a whole new board of directors, and then they get burnt out. And
Yep.
then there's not.
There's
And then
nobody
it's
left.
just gone. Then
Yeah.
it's just gone, right?
Yeah. It's
And
hard to get
that's what.
people to commit to big chunks of time.
Well, yeah, and I'm not close to the logistics and the operations of societies, but I've spent a lot of time in the U.S. and my understanding is that, there is some sort of compensation for the people that run these societies in the States, maybe because there's a bit more money. And I've always been an advocate that
Nope.
there's
Washington
not
State, none of them get paid.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because in the Midwest, like years ago, I recall there being paid positions just to keep the consistency of things going there. Maybe I was lied to or
The
was wrong on
Society
that.
Act here in Canada doesn't allow you to do that.
I know in Canada it doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
But in the US, I thought it was different, which I always thought, and I could be
Well, its
totally
executive director position can get paid, but they can't be on the board as well. The board, the executive
Okay.
director has the power to operate the entity. The board is supposed to advise the executive director and can hire and fire the executive director. But
Yeah.
but that's just it. Like, we have looked at making me executive director and actually paying so that we can keep it going and expand it, because there's lots of things I'd like to do. But if I do that, then I have to give the power over to the board. And
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of situations where the person who's done that gets ousted and somebody takes over their society on them after putting all their blood, sweat, and tears in it.
I think that's what happened in Maple Ridge with their society. I don't know for
Well,
sure.
that's what happened in Salmon.
Okay.
That's what happened in Salmon. She had it for 17 years. And when
And that's such a shame to me, because the ideas and the work you guys put in, everybody, I've always been an advocate that everybody needs to be paid. Like, even as someone that performs, and I go out and I'm demanding, like, here's what I need to be paid, and I got to pay the guys in my band, and well, the sound guys got to get paid, the roadies got to get paid if they exist on that event, and then all the other people in the operation. So it's like, if everybody doesn't make something, it's going to die on the vine at some point in time, because somebody not getting paid is going to go, fuck it, I've had enough.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah, and I've been around the block enough times to have seen it, and maybe in my mind that's why I thought people in the States got paid in some way, because their societies seem way more established. And really, if somebody's not getting paid, how do they have 40 hours a week to put into something? Because I know major festivals that last a weekend take an entire year to put together.
Yeah, I know. Well, I asked that question just on the long weekend, actually, because I was under the impression too that they have a way of being able to get a stipend, but supposedly that has changed down there as well. So I don't know. Plus, the music scene down in the United States is a lot stronger than it is here in Canada.
Yeah, that's
in
true
a lot
too.
of instances. They have more people to draw on.
Yeah. So a question for you then. Aside from all that stuff we were just talking about, if in a perfect world we had all these people that just like bought memberships and bought merch and paid for these things, and you guys had money coming in, hand over fist, would that make the life so much easier for people in your position that volunteer all this time and your blood, sweat, and tears into something that really goes unrecognized? If there was people watching that said, hey, if I could be part of supporting all these things, would that help the behind the scenes to keep things going, aside from all the other logistics?
Yes, because like the volunteers we have right now, if they weren't helping me, then I couldn't do what I'm doing. Like, we have some great volunteers, and they put in as much time and effort as I do for the most part. I do a lot of stuff in the background that you don't see. Like, Bill does a lot of the hauling in and out of equipment and so on and so forth. And we have a couple of new.
Beer.
Pardon me?
And the cases of beer and the tequila. I know, I spent a lot of time.
No, I'm talking about lights. Holy crap.
Oh, okay. I thought we were talking about one of John Hawley's parties.
Oh, yeah, no, those are a bit different.
Yeah,
it's a bit better when you have the hall all set up and you just have to flip the switch. Because with our venue, we have to set everything up and tear everything down for every single show.
And that's a lot of work.
We're at the hall at 4 p.m. and we don't get home until 1:45. And then I do stuff usually for 4 or 5 hours before we even get to the hall. So, but yes, we need volunteers. We need people who want to get involved and help and have ideas and so on and so forth. So, like, I've just Mac has just retired from our merch table, so I'm in search of somebody who can commit on a fairly regular basis to help on the merch table. But it's intimidating for some people because I've added all this new merch. And so, yeah, we've got way more merch than we've ever had. But that's the fun thing, is that that attracts more people also to come over and talk to you and buy stuff.
So if you're looking for somebody on the merch table and they happen to be watching right now, what would they need to do? Because maybe we can send somebody your way.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I would want them to have some retail experience. So like being able to count money is really important, of course. Honesty is really
Just a
important,
little
of
bit.
course.
Yeah.
And being friendly and liking helping out. There's a lot of people out there that won't go to events because they feel intimidated. There might be somebody who's newly widowed or a widower. They're new to the area. This is a great way to actually get your foot in the door helping out. And you meet lots of people. Chris, the CJ is the other name he goes by on Facebook. I met him at John Holly's 2 years ago, and he's one of our top volunteers. And he has said to us, I don't know what I'd be doing right now if it hadn't have been for your society that just opened all these doors for me to meet all these people." He had met various people at John's place, but what we do is really unique in comparison to what John's parties are all about, right? So he came out. He and I talked at one event. He came out, and he's been coming to every single event pretty well since then. So I
That,
really appreciate those people that step up and just take it on and help with all the different things that need to be done. I don't have to. Mavis and him are the two where I don't have to tell them what needs to be done. They just more or less get up and get it done.
that's great. And we'll definitely get the website up on this podcast and
Thank you.
try and send some people your way. And even if people are watching from another region, support the local blues society, because that's really where, you know, the international acts you bring here are local to somewhere.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's very important. So how do you see the future of the blues from here? Like in the Fraser Valley, and even necessarily internationally, because you do a lot of stuff outside of the region.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Because you sort of had a blip
Did
there.
I move up? Okay, yeah, no worries. I said, how do you see the future of the blues in terms of regionally and internationally?
Okay. So I see the blues regionally actually picking up. I'm seeing more younger people coming to our events. They've checked out the electronic component. A lot of the times they start off in the rock component and then discover blues and go, oh, I really like this. And James Vickers is a really good example of that. 14 years old, he's burning up stages all over the place. He started off with heavy metal during COVID, and then discovered the blues and has continued on from there. He's decided that's the genre he wants to do. He's very much like you were when you were younger. So I see that growing. One problem we have right now, though, is a lack of music programs. So I would like to be able to actually get blues in schools started locally and expanded throughout this part of BC, if possible, and find ways to make it fly, because not having music available in the schools is impacting our youth considerably. One of the other reasons I started doing what I'm doing is I did neural feedback for as a business. I went and trained and did it as a business. And when you're retraining people's brains, you use sight and sound, and it's music a lot of the times, or tones that change the way our brain functions. And so music activates four parts of our brain at the same time, is one of the few things that does that. And so it's really, really good for our mental state. And youth in particular need that with the technology component that we have now on a day-to-day basis, music actually reverses some of that ADD, ADHD stuff that happens with the I need everything right now, right now, right now. Music just calms the brain a little bit. So I feel that that's where a lot of the 20 to 40-year-olds are starting to tap into the blues or classic rock component of music, and will continue on. Internationally, I really don't know. That's such a hard thing to say because though I meet people at the International Blues Challenge, I don't really have. That's not true either. I was going to say, don't really have a finger on the pulse, but because of our radio show that we did a few years ago, we still get CDs from all over the world, and I listen to most of them, and then stick the music on a stick and listen to it in our car, and such. So it's good to see that there's so many musicians who are sending out recordings still, and I highly recommend anybody who is a musician to continue doing recordings, even if you're sending them out as electronic files. It's really important to keep developing music and submitting it to the community radio stations, the big radio stations, anybody you can find, because that carries you. Like, James, do you not feel, a question for you as a musician, do you not feel that your recordings, your music that you had distributed has served you well? For recognition, not for money. Because there is no money.
No, there's definitely not any money, and hasn't been for quite some time. For recognition, I look at making a recording like a business card. Yeah. I do my recording and I get a publicist and I push it out there and I get a bunch of award nominations, and then I lose all those nominations and I get some, news articles and reviews and things like that. And that kind of, gets you front and center or still relevant. And then you get gigs, and that's where you make some
and that's
money,
just
right?
it, because you can do all covers, but it's much better if you can do covers and a couple of your own tunes as well, because it broadens you as a musician to your audience.
Yep, no, absolutely. And I've been personally, for myself, I've been kind of like, do I do another album or do I not do one? And it's kind of weighing the cost versus the reward benefit. For personal gratification, like, I've already done it. I've had all the award nominations that I could dream of, and I've got 5 albums out. That's behind me, and it's like, man, the cost to do it for what?
Yes. So, okay. And so another question for you. If I do blues in schools, I might call on you.
No, absolutely. I would be all for it. I haven't talked to Steve Sanis in quite a while, but he had an amazing thing going, and I'm sure you know Steve because you brought him out to your things.
Oh, did he? See, I wasn't aware. But that's all was only in Vancouver, was it not?
No, Terry Fox High School in Coquitlam, or Port Coquitlam, or I don't know, the Tri-Cities. There's like 3 cities.
Okay.
Wrapped in one kind of thing. But he did a music program there, and it was absolutely amazing. So back when I was working with Tom Lavin at Pavi, I was winding guitar pickups, and I made pickups, and we went there and did a session with all the kids in terms of like how to change out your guitar pickups, how to restring, and he would put on big concerts, and he was massive. Like, if you're going to get into the blues in schools, if there's one person I would say to, pick a brain from, it would be Steve, for sure, because he's got a vast knowledge of how it works, from just doing it with the students to all the politics behind it.
Wonderful. Well, I'll take that and make a note of it, because I don't have the background in music. I just have the drive in the business side and the bringing people together side. So I need those musician friends to make any of this happen.
Yeah, and the musician friends need you as equally important, because it's the music business, and most musicians know the music, they don't know the business. Yeah. So you can have somebody that knows the business, and who cares if they know the music, because the musician knows the music,
It's a good marriage or a good relationship for the most part.
100%. But yeah, if you get into that, we can talk offline. I'd be more than happy to, help
Cool.
with
Yeah.
anything like that. So before we go here, I know we've talked about like musicians and how we see that. What words can we send to the people watching that just love to go out and support live music and they're not sure where to go or how to get about doing it, or they feel uncomfortable? What words of advice would you give those people?
Get out and support your local venues, musicians, societies, anybody who's doing the music thing. Because if we didn't have live music, we would be in a sad state of affairs. We would have people full of depression, anxiety to the yin yang. It's something that is a critical component in my mind for our society, for the well-being, the health of our society as a whole. And it doesn't even have to be blues. It can be any form of music except for the electronic stuff. The electronic stuff doesn't do the same thing as instrumentation does.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
just
for
doesn't.
sure. Yeah,
The
live energy.
electronic, the with vocals is a bit different, but yeah, it's instrumentation in particular. For some reason, those tones, our brain is affected by it, and it's a
Yeah, and I
good
think
effect. And
yeah,
it's
and I think
also
it's
the social and the physical, because dancing is also really good for us. And I know a lot of people, that's the only physical thing that they get is the getting up and dancing.
yeah, and the energy I think from live performance as well. As a performer, when you have a crowd that's interactive with you and not watching a hockey game, and with their backs to you, there's an energy component there. But for people there's a lot of people, especially post COVID, I noticed there was a lot of social anxiety on people. People that were very social before COVID became antisocial
Yeah.
after. So for those people that might feel nervous or insecure or not comfortable for whatever reasons coming out, what would you say the reception of people are like, at your events in terms of like
Our audience is
hospitality?
amazing. Like you said, I get a high from our events. It takes me an hour to an hour and a half to come down once I get home. Um, our We have very little drama. It amazes me at how little drama we have at our events. People are very supportive, very friendly. I had a lady reach out to me today saying, I'm new to the community. I would like to come to your event, but I don't want to sit by myself. And I said, please come out. I have a group of ladies who come. I'm sure I can arrange for you to sit with them. Because a lot of the times they want to sit with me. And I don't have the
Yeah,
time at an event to sit with people. It
yeah,
just
for sure.
doesn't happen. I've got too many balls in the air and too many people that I have to greet and get set up. Or probably Friday I'll be doing the merch table. Anyway, so it's like that's not a possibility more often than not. And I'm up and down, so I'm not a good companion to have because people end up sitting there by themselves again. But I will, and I do, match people up all the time. There have been many, many friendships that have blossomed from people coming to our events, people who have lived in the same community for 30 years but had never met each other. And now they have this friendship that they can call on each other when they need things or they want to go out and do things. We are social beings. We need to be out and be social. So just come try. That's all I say. And coming up, I need to plug some new events because I got some new things happening.
Yes, yes.
So
What is going on?
first off, first Classic Rock Jam is happening a week this Saturday at the Eagles Hall. I did have a ticketed event arranged for that, but Paul Kite couldn't make it until the first Saturday of October. So I decided instead of letting that date go with the hall, that I'm going to try Classic Rock Jam, and I feel that that will bring out some younger people as well. So it'll be the same format as our blues jam. It's going to be a $10 cover, except for if you're a jammer, it's free. We have the band Sticks and Stones hosting. Um, they will be, the two people from there will be putting musicians together to play a 3-song set. And usually there's one person assigned to be the lead of that set. I don't know how well Classic Rock is going to go because it's a totally different scenario, people have to know the music more so than when it comes to blues. So it's probably going to be a bit more difficult, but other people are doing it, so we can do it too.
For sure. For sure.
And then we have a new venue that we are collaborating with. The Highwayman Pub in Abbotsford is starting to have a Friday night blues night. I have the first band coming into play September 27th, and that is the Jamie Dale Band will be playing that night. And then we have Strongbow and Rye, the duo we took to Memphis, will be playing October 25th, I think it is. So that's a new thing that's happening. They may increase it to more than once a month, but that won't happen till the new year. And Bill and I will be there, and probably our other volunteers as well. And most of our crowd, I suspect, because they all like to go out and have a good time.
Yeah. And support it.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we've got Paul Kite coming back again. Abbotsford boy that now lives in Alberta, doing Stevie Ray Vaughan for the most part. But he also has some really good music of his own. October 6th, and we're 65% sold out already for that show right now. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul's a great person and an amazing player. And an amazing person. I'll use the same word for both. Yeah.
Yes, and he makes long-time friendships. Like, it's amazing how many people came out of the woodwork when we had him play for the first time last year, and I had people ringing my phone off the hook for 2 weeks beforehand after we had sold out. So if you want to see Paul Kite, get your tickets early.
Yeah, get them now, because if you're already, what'd you say, 85% sold out?
65. We're at
65%
right now.
sold. Okay, and you're still like 3 weeks out.
Sorry?
Is that right? Are you still 3 weeks out? You said October 6th?
Yep, 3 weeks out.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a music event every week for the next 5 weeks. So,
and that's actually that's pretty impressive for the Lower Mainland, because most people don't buy advance tickets in BC compared to anywhere else I've played. It's always been a challenge.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time, and hopefully some people watching got some insight on this. I'm going to put your socials up, so for any of those people watching, there's a lot of logistics that go on behind the scenes, as Cora just mentioned. She was just, touching the iceberg there in terms of
you out to a jam sometime soon, Mr. James.
Sorry, say that again.
I said, let's see you out to a jam sometime soon, Mr. James.
Yeah. Do you have one this Friday? Is that what you?
Yes.
Is it this Friday? Yeah.
This Friday.
Well, I might do that. I've been loading up on these podcasts just because the logistics of scheduling have been a bit difficult, especially some of the musicians.
But this time bring your guitar, because you've come twice with no guitar.
I just like to come and listen to people.
Well, you're allowed to do that too.
Yeah, is it Paul that's hosting this week? Is it Paul Hendricks that's hosting this week?
Yeah, Hendricks. Paul Hendricks and the Scary Lizards is our host for this month. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and make it out to that one.
Speaking of younger people.
Yes.
They're younger.
Yeah, I know.
And they're all from Maple Ridge area.
Yes, they are actually. Well, Paul's from out in Coquitlam, I believe. But yeah, we're all from the
Jonathan,
Fraser Valley.
Dan are all from Maple Ridge.
Yeah. Yeah, the Fraser Valley boys. Okay, well, we thank you for coming out, and I know Bill's kind of in the background. Is he going to pop his head in and say hi?
I don't know, Bill. Are you going to pop your head in and say hi?
I'm not dressed.
They don't need to see.
Perfect.
He's not.
Bring that bottle of tequila. Come have a seat.
Okay, hold it this way.
Come on.
There we go.
There he is, the man of the hour.
He's dressed. So, thank you so much, James, for asking me to be on the podcast. I look forward to hearing.
I'm glad that you were willing to do it, because so many people expect musicians to be on the podcast, but I really want people to understand that there's so much more happening behind the scenes that really make it work. And people
Yeah.
like yourself and Bill, most people don't understand or don't know, or it's just never front and center. And there's his pretty face right there.
Not just the happy face anymore.
I don't know. Maybe it was there the whole time, but while we do the podcast, I've just got like a little video thing on the screen.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you guys both being on here. And for people watching, Fraser Valley Blues Society.com
Or-
/ memberships if you want to go straight there.
I actually have all the websites. It's fvblues.com, fraservalleyblues.com, and fraservalleybluessociety.com. So
Oh, wow. So
And we're on
when we're
Facebook.
done, Nick, and on Facebook, what I want you to do before we say bye to everyone is send me all these links, because I'm going to get them in the descriptions for these videos, and hopefully even just up on the screen if I have the time to do some bottom thirds. So thank you guys again for being on. It was a pleasure, and get me those
Thanks,
links.
James.
We'll probably see you Friday.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Awesome.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, guys. Take
Bye.
care.